Hey, you've summoned a lesser maker. This is my pile of shame. I got half of the cities of Sigmar army. I won this Baba Yaga's hut from Reaper Miniatures from Miniac, and I haven't gotten around to painting that. And then I got Warcry last year for Christmas, and I haven't touched the box at all. The main reason is I had just learned Mordheim, and learning new rules just was really intimidating. But today, I kind of got an epiphany. This isn't a Warcry starter set. This is a Mordheim starter set. I just didn't know it yet. Last time I played Mordheim with my son, we rolled the breakthrough encounter. And that's one I haven't ever played before. Basically, he has to get his warband through my warband off the other edge of the board. So what I did is I took one of the roads, just blockaded it so that they had to come through me. Because to me, that made the most sense. I assumed that he would bring his entire warband to fight mine, but instead he gave me them one by one, and I completely demolished his entire warband, and I feel awful. So we're gonna make these for him. This will make me feel a little better, and hopefully he likes them. So let's get started. These miniatures were the worst models I've ever assembled. One of the arms, it was split up into 3 parts. Gluing pieces together, the registration marks didn't really match up very well, and I assembled it exactly as the instructions told me. I don't mean to put a stink in the middle of this video, but I just thought I'd put a disclaimer that I don't recommend these ones. These ones are kind of bad. Let's base these miniatures because I'm really done assembling them. Yikes.
When I base my miniatures, I like to have a consistent theme going on. So I decided to 3D model a Mordheim fence and kind of use it between all 10 of these miniatures. That way they kind of had a cohesive look. If you want this STL, it'll be free on my Patreon. There'll be a link in the description if you're interested. I'm going to start with this Conan Barbarian looking guy. I'm basically just trying to set theme for all of these miniatures with this model, trying to get the balance right. For this next guy, I wanted to do a pose where he's running and jumping over this fence, and I'm keeping in mind a miniature I really like, the Faramir model from the Osgiliath set for Lord of the Rings Wargame, and it's a model I've always kind of wanted to get, but I haven't. So I always kind of emulate that pose because I know. So I'm just going to go through the motions and base all of these models. I also modeled a couple cobblestones that you can print out, and finally all of these are based and assembled. These have come a long way from the pile of shame, and I'm really happy that I finally got primer on these guys. We're going to paint these up with a mixture of speed paints and pro-acryl. I've used these pro-acryl paints for some models I kit bashed for a game called Swill, Turnip 28 skirmish game, and I'm really excited for it. I started off with a base coat, starting from a black on the boots, and then from leg to half of the torso, a leather speed paint, and then a khaki like skin tone speed paint on the upper half. I saw this in a Ninjon video, and it didn't quite work exactly how I want, but it was a fun experiment. But it did add a bit of contrast when I was speckling in the skin tone with some pro-acryl tan. So this is my test model, and this isn't exactly how it ends up turning out, but I kind of focus on the Conan Barbarian guy after this, and that will be the method I use on the rest of these miniatures. Ever since I got the pro-acryl, I've been doing a lot more non-metallic metals. It just seems like it just comes a lot easier to me. I'm used to Army Painter, And I've almost exclusively used Army Painter for my whole hobby time. It's a really huge difference between this and Army Painter. You don't have to thin the paint. It comes out perfectly out of the bottle, and you can just get it right on the miniature. The more steps there are from getting paint to model, the less patience I have to make the model look good. So between Army speed paints and pro-acryl, I feel like this is a perfect marriage so that I can get these models to look as good as possible and as fast as possible. So with this Conan Barbarian guy, there was a lot more back and forth between the colors. I stippled on the tan paint, and then once that dried, I had to go back with a bone speed paint to kind of add a bit more contrast. I painted his hair black, kind of like the box art, and I did a wet blend from the purple to the red on the cloak. And man, this paint is just so much easier to use. I didn't know my paint was holding me back. It did for me make a huge difference on the level of painting I was able to accomplish. After this guy was done and it was settled, I went ahead and did the rest of the models the same exact way, with the speed paint wet blend from dark to light, and then the stippling of the skin, and then adding more contrast with the bone speed paint, and then the purple to red wet blend on the cloth parts. I painted the boots black as well, and basically we're done.
Thanks for getting to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like or a comment, that goes a huge way to pushing my small channel into the feeds of other people. If you really like the channel, feel free to subscribe, and don't forget to grab that free STL on my Patreon. Actually, everything on my Patreon is free if you didn't know, and that's thanks to my Patreon members: Leroy, Moonbad, Feder, Caracal, Old School FRP, Burning Heart Custom Creations, James, Anders, Hanover, Grim Drunk, Treborius, Andy, Eric, and our newest Patreon member, Marchin. So thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. It makes a huge difference. As you can imagine, doing a build every single week kind of adds up financially. And if you've ever wondered why does it take so long between board builds, it's mostly financially. The other one is kind of space. I don't know where to put all these things. To kind of get in the nitty gritty of Patreon, there's a shop tab where I'm organizing my STL packs. Just look in the description. There's a link to the free download for each item. If you do end up liking it though, feel free to donate in the shop tab as well. I have a lot of cool videos planned, and I'm really excited to share them with you. So thank you for subscribing, and I hope you have a good one.